not even mean Bowers game for me.
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review. And today, very excited to check out Outpost Siberia from IDW Games. This is for 2 to 6 players, take about 30 minutes to play, and it's for ages 12 plus. And in Outpost Siberia, you are an outpost in the frozen tundra of Siberia. You're low on food, you're low on water, and you're trying to survive. But all the while, there's paranormal things that's happening. There's animals outside who are going to attack you, and bad events are going to happen, and occasionally good events are going to happen. In this incredibly difficult cooperative dual-use card game. It's got a lot of things going for it that I really, really like, but is it good? Let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Outpost Siberia. So first and foremost, you're going to get a handy-dandy rule booklet, 27 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples, and it's pretty well done. And honestly, 10 of the pages are just a very comprehensive example turn that will really help you out if you get caught struggling in the game. So in Outpost Siberia, you and up to 5 other players are going to be taking control of these survivors right here. Each one will have its own little different quirks and quinks. Some will have less health, but they're all going to have their own unique special abilities, and you are going to try and survive throughout this entire Outpost deck. If you can do that without any of the characters reaching 0 health, then you will win the game. Most of the time, though, you are going to lose because this is an insanely difficult game. So let's go over the components. Let's get into the gameplay. So first, component-wise, you're going to get the different characters. You're going to pick one of these characters. Each one will have its own unique special ability. Some of the ones that are really good will even have their own low health, like the Trail Guide Bell. At the start of your turn, you may look at the top 3 cards of the Expedition deck and then put them back in the order. That's incredibly useful, but only having 2 health is really kind of crummy. A lot of them will have things where you can discard a card from your hand and you can make it turn into a flare or food or I think it was a flamethrower, but each one's going to have their own unique special ability. Now, one thing I do want to mention right now is there's no turn order in this game. You as a group decide what order you are going to take your turns based on what is necessary, based on the threat out there and what's going on. You just kind of tap your card to let everybody know that you have gone during this round. Also, when you're setting up the game, you are going to decide how hard you want to make the game. You're going to do that by taking these cards right here, and there'll be blue ones, which are good events, and red ones, which are bad events, and you are going to decide how you do it. The way they recommend, and the way I would recommend, is going with 8 blue cards and 4 red cards. That's going to give you an easy version of the game, but even then, the game is incredibly difficult. You're going to take those 12 cards, you're going to mix them up with all of the threats in the game. The threats will look like this. So you'll have hedgehogs, there's zombies in there, Siberian musk deers, raging boars, and each one are going to have their own different little things on them. So you can only use this card with CV1 to attack this threat, so that means you have to attack it with very weak things. Let's see. So right here, the flying snow squirrel at the end of each round. While this threat is in play, discard the top card from the Outpost deck. But the other important thing you want to note up here is this is how much damage this threat is going to do to you when it comes up, and this is how much health it has in order to kill it. But you can't kill it outright. So even if I dealt 3 damage to this, you still have to use a snow pick or a flamethrower to completely kill it, which is a little bit odd. We got the Grey Wolf here at the end of each round. While this threat is in play, one player loses 1 HP. So some of them are going to be big deals that you are going to want to immediately kill before the end of the round, because losing any health in this game is very bad. Now, you can gain health back by using health packs, but for the most part, you just want to try and not lose health. I'm also going to show you how the dual-use cards in this game work, because there's lots of different ways you're going to be using the cards, but I'll do that during the natural gameplay. So let's just walk you through what you're going to do on your turn. So it's pretty simple. At the very beginning of your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to take the top 2 cards from this deck right here. Now, we talked about how you're going to take 12 cards that are the event cards that will be red or blue, and then you're going to mix them with all the threat cards. You're going to take the remainder of the cards and you're going to put them into this deck right here. This is called the Outpost deck. At the beginning of your turn, you are going to take 2 of these cards. And you're going to be looking at these cards for these abilities right here. You're not going to be paying attention to what they have on the bottom, which are the events. You're going to be looking up here. And you're going to put 1 card of these cards out in what's called the supply. The supply is the area where everyone will be able to use the card on their turn. And then you're going to put the other card in your hand. If a card is in your hand, you don't look at this part, you don't look at this part, you're just going to look at the combat. So you just look at this too. So for instance, for this one, I kind of want to get some combat right now. So I'll put this first aid kit even though it's not really a first aid kit. It's just 2 damage into my hand. And then I'll put this ice axe out here so anyone will be able to use this ice axe to defeat a threat later in the game. Now, if there were some threats out here, this would be the time, because that was the phase 1 right there. There's going to be 5 phases that you'll be able to do on your turn. So you draw outpost cards, and then you can attack the threat. So if there was a threat out here, a bad guy out here, so to speak, you would be able to attack it with the damage that you have in your hand right there. But obviously there's no threats out here, so you'd move on to the next phase, which is use equipment. So you might use an ice axe to potentially, kill something that's that is dead. You might be using a health kit to heal yourself one. There's flares, which will negate bad stuff that's up here, but obviously nothing's up here, so then you'd move to the next one, which is that you endure the expedition phase. This is where you're just going to draw the top card of the deck, and you are going to deal with it. So this is a threat. It is a Siberian moose. It's come out of nowhere. It's attacking us. So one of us is going to have to take 1 damage. And you have to take the damage if you're not exhausted. Now, obviously, since I just have 1 card here, I'd be doing that. But this is where really turn order is going to matter, because you're going to want the people who are very low health potentially to go first so they don't have to take this damage. So the Siberian moose, you must use an ice axe to defeat this threat. A flamethrower has no effect. So I need to deal 4 damage to this guy since he has 4 health, and then I need to use this ice axe as my equipment to kill it off. If I'm able to do that, then all of those cards will go up here into this discard pile, and eventually they will get shuffled up into here to help create your outpost deck when your outpost deck runs out. So we've got this guy out, and now we're going to exhaust our character card because, boom, we're done for this round. So let's just go over here and say this person's turn is next, Survivalist Dana. So they would, once again, they're going to draw 2 cards from the Outpost deck, and they're only looking at the bottom part of the cards. So we have a flamethrower, and we have some food. So I think it's important to have some food out here, because a lot of the threats that attack you are going to require food. So we'll put some food up here in the supply for everyone to use, and I'll put this flamethrower, even though it only has 1 health, down here. And you know what? Next we get to the attack threat, so I'll go ahead and attack this threat. So this now has 1 damage put on it. It needs 3 more damage, and we'll be able to kill it with the ice axe. I don't need food. I don't need the ice axe. So now we go on to drawing an expedition. And this is the Infected Explorer, so it's going to deal 1 damage as well. And since this person has already tapped their card, that's a bummer for me, so I have to take this damage. At the end of each round, while this threat is in play, the last player to take a turn must discard 1 card, or else they lose 1 HP. That is a really big bummer. So now we have 2 threats going on. Now, this also symbolizes the end of the round. So at the end of the round, what you're going to do is you're going to pick yourself back up, because your card is no longer tapped, and then you're going to check up here at the threats to see if anything is a lingering effect. In this case, the Siberian moose is just content being out there, being a threat. But this Infected Explorer is going to hurt us. So at the end of the round, while this threat is in play, the last player to take a turn, which would have been Survivalist Dana, must discard 1 card, or else they lose a health. And since I don't have a health, or a card, I lose a health. And right now, I'm already down to 2 health. So as you can see, things can go really awry in this game. Now, every once in a while, though, 8 times precisely, if you're playing the easy version of the game, you will have good events that will happen. And when an event comes up, you have to pay this, and then this thing happens. So a better use, any one player may exchange 1 card from their hand for 1 card of their choice from the supply. But on the flip side, there also are going to be bad events that will happen. They'll be, these ones are really bad. So you're going to have to pay something, missing food, discard 1 food or water from the supply if possible. Otherwise, discard the top card of the Outpost deck, which I still don't quite understand why that's a bad thing, but I'll mention that more in the pros and cons. But some of these are pretty stinking bad. Anyway, you're going to continue to go either until 1 character dies or until you run completely through the deck, at which point you will probably lose Outpost Siberia. And that, in a nutshell, is how you're going to play the game. Alrighty then, Outpost Siberia from IDW Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the pros side, 2 to 6 players, that's a pretty wide player count, which I'm always a big fan of. Also, it is a completely cooperative game, which I love cooperative games. Obviously, that's a your mileage may vary kind of thing. I also really dig the theme, that survival theme. Like, we're out here and we have to rely on each other. We have to figure out the turn order and which way we're going to be doing it. And, resources are very scarce. It's like, are you really going to use this food for this scenario? No, I can take that health. Like, you're going to be making those decisions and trying to survive in this game does have a great sense of dread. Like, you are going to die. Like, the game does a good job of doing that. I also really enjoy the artwork. I love the dual-use cards, you know, depending on which deck you draw it from or when you get cards, you might be looking at the equipment on the card, you might be looking at the damage of the card, you might be looking at the text on the card or the event on the card or the threat on the card. I like how that whole system works for having, you know, a very minimal game. You know, I think it's just maybe like 70, 100 cards, something like that, and some little tokens to keep track of health. This game does quite a good deal. So it is a very cleverly designed game, which I really do like. I'm also a fan of the tin. I'm one of those rare odd ducks who love tins, and I really like a lot about this game. It has a well-done rule booklet. The cards are perfectly serviceable. I like the graphic design, and all that being said, moving on to the cons, I still can't recommend this game. And the big reason why is it's too difficult. Like, it's not fun difficult, it's stupid, annoying. Why would anyone possibly want to play this difficult? And this was one of my most anticipated games at Gen Con, so I really hate doing this because I do like the theme, and I do like the dual-use cards, and I like everything about this game, but it's just stupid hard. Like, it's not fun hard. It's not like, oh man, we're so close, and this would have happened, or this would have happened, we could have won this game. It's like, oh, yeah, we still had, like, 16 cards left to go. We were totally dead. Like, you feel like you're going to lose after, like, 6 or 7 turns. Like, you never feel like you're turning a corner. Maybe if you got all your good event cards in a row, then yes, and you have this big stockpile of supplies, and you're drawing the best cards. But for the most part, this game does not feel like it's winnable at all. And I got online after we got done playing it twice, and I was like, we have to be playing this incorrectly. There's just no way that this game is this insanely difficult. I went to the Board Game Geek page, and sure enough, yes, everyone else is not winning this game either. At the high player counts, at the low player counts, even though I do think you definitely have a better chance at the high player counts. I even watched a gameplay video. I skimmed through a gameplay video of someone playing this game, and they put all 12 good events, no bad events whatsoever in this game, and they still got crushed. They still had like 13 cards left in their deck that they had to go through. It's stupid hard. I don't understand how this one got past play testing, to be really honest with you. I just, I played this 4 times now, and I have no desire to play it again because it's not fun. I go into this knowing that I'm going to lose. I tried it with 10 of the good cards and 2 of the bad cards at the 4th time just to see if it made it any easier. No, we still got just absolutely walloped. And I love difficult games. I really do. But this is too difficult. This is stupid difficult. It just feels like an unwinnable game. And yes, I'm sure there is some strategy out there that will do it, where you have to maximize your med packs and kill certain animals really fast and just completely ignore certain animals and threats, and you have to draw really lucky or something like that. But I don't care to find it, and I don't think you will either. In the end, Outpost Siberia has a lot of really cool stuff going for it. But unfortunately, it's just stupid difficult. You can house rule it to make it easier. Maybe just play with 16 good event cards, or all the good event cards. I don't know how many are in there, or something like that, and no bad event cards, or take out half the threats or something like that. But this isn't a very fun game. It's just not. So that is Outpost Siberia from IDW Games. One that I really can't recommend to anybody unless you just like losing and not feeling like you're even close to winning. So that is Outpost Siberia from IDW Games. I'm sure I'm going to get some flack for this review, but not one that I can recommend at all. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, what's your favorite very difficult game? For me personally, I'm a big fan of Aeon's End when you bump up the difficulty, because it's just like, you feel like you're getting more powerful as the game progresses, but things are getting progressively worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's like, can you reach that tipping point where your power is able to overcome the difficulty of the game? And I really love when games are able to do that. This one, unfortunately, is not. Let me know in the comments below. What is your favorite super difficult game? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.